Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Proler and I am going to talk to you guys today about my hot topic, which I'm calling What Do We Do? Um, Basically, my question is about Dewey. Do we keep it? Do we let it go? Is it ineffective? Is it effective? And I want to know at the end of the presentation what you guys think. What would you do if someone asked you whether or not you would choose to keep the Dewey Decimal System in your library? Would you change it? Would you forego Dewey in favor of an alternate classification model like BSAC or METIS? Or would you implement some sort of hybrid, maybe changing over just fiction or just nonfiction? What would you do? So I did a good amount of research about this, and I don't think that the Dewey Decimal System is perfect. It's kind of confusing. It's a little bit weird. I mean, why knitting is in the 600s under technology is strange, but domestic sciences, so it counts, I guess. Um, so there's kind of advantages and disadvantages here. And I think that that's something that we need to look at seriously and determine whether or not the benefits outweigh the risks. And that's what I'm going to talk about and hope that you guys will think about today. So, on one hand, Dewey is a time-proven way of keeping track of our books. For large collections, it's amazing. It holds everything. If you're familiar with Dewey and you're comfortable working in an online catalog, I'm sorry, um, it's not really a problem. But if you're someone who's maybe not very familiar with the library and you're not very comfortable, it might be a little bit more challenging for you to find books based upon your interest. So if you're walking into a library and let's say you don't have a particular topic in mind and you are there to kind of just peruse the shelves like you would at a bookstore, is Dewey the best method for that? No, let's be serious, it's not. But if you're looking for something specific, it's great. So there are a lot of librarians and a lot of libraries, both school and public, that are working on genrifying their libraries. So they're moving over to the classification systems like BSAC and METIS and these hybrid models and models that they're just creating on their own. I saw a color model in there. And they're saying that circulation stats are improving. People are feeling more comfortable and more confident in using the library, and they're able to explore their interests. Um, they're able to discuss the books that they're reading more casually with their friends because maybe let's say you're standing in front of realistic fiction and someone walks up to you, you're able to kind of carry on a conversation because there you guys both have that commonality and it encourages that. But at the same time, as I'm sure you all will imagine, professional literature is super divided. So where do we go? um, I've done a lot of reading and I'm really not sure. So, professional literature is really divided about the topic. In working on this post, and as well as, having worked on this topic for a project for a different class, I still feel really confused. Probably more now than I was before. And I think that that's because there are so many pros and so many cons to each classification system. So, in one article that I found, Sweeney found that in her library, she's a secondary library media specialist, so she has her own library, and she found that the genreification was really beneficial. She had problems before with circulation, and her circulation stats improved. She said that it's easier for her to keep track of her collection because she's able to walk over to a specific section and know and be able to visually see, based upon stickers on the spines, exactly how many books she has in each genre. So that improves her collection development because she can say, hey, my patrons are checking out primarily realistic fiction right now, so I'm going to expand upon that collection. They're not choosing as many romance novels, so I won't supplement that area. Makes sense. But at the same time, she noted that it is difficult for her to select the genres that each book would fit into because that's totally subjective and it's based not upon any kind of scientific fact or there's no, main bubble or, group that's telling you, okay, well, this book falls into this genre. It's based upon the determination of the person doing the cataloging. So sometimes it's difficult. I might feel like a book is a mystery, and you might think that it's a thriller. So there's kind of that gap there, and that's sort of a problem. She also noted that when she was working to help students find books in the library, that she needed to download the Follett Destiny app onto her cell phone because it's difficult to remember where books are in the library as a space. Um, But despite all of that, she said that it's a really positive change for her. She said the patrons are easily able to find their books. Like I said, they're increasing discussion about the books that they're reading. They're exploring more books independently because, let's say, they know that they like realistic fiction. They're able to just go into the realistic fiction section and look around and pick different books that, maybe they wouldn't have chosen because they wouldn't have been in that area previously. Um, She also says that it's an improvement for students because they are able to um, get a better understanding of what puts a book into a certain genre, which is part of the school library curriculum. So there's that as well. On the other hand, Martina, Zavia, and Kip both presented a pretty interesting argument as well. They said that maybe the bookstore model is appropriate for bookstores because financial gain is the motive. Most people that are walking into a bookstore don't have a specific title in mind. Let's say I know that I like historical fiction, so I'm going to go take a look in the historical fiction section, see what they have, see what jumps out at me. It's not something specific. I'm not going there looking for, um, you know, anything. I'm just going there to walk around and spend my money, and that's clearly not what you're doing when you go to the library. Um, but at the same time, another problem is that if you think about being in a bookstore, think about your ability to find a book that you are looking for when you know a specific title. I know that for me, I've often had a hard time because I'm stuck walking around from genre to genre because maybe the author that I like writes in various genres, or maybe I'm not sure exactly which genre my book fits into because it does kind of fall in a variety of different places. Um, that's a big problem with like romance books and like chick lit because you're finding that one focuses on friendships and romance and the other one is just strictly um, romantic relationships. So there's so many overlaps there that it's kind of confusing. And in a really interesting notation by Schneider, who was cited in this Martina Zavia and Kip article, a library's collection is designed to be managed by information professionals in that professional capacity. So when you think about a library as a place, yes, you might have patrons that feel uncomfortable walking up to a librarian and asking a question. They might feel stupid or have a variety of misconceptions about what the role of the librarian is and how willing we are to help them. Um, but from my thought is if we move towards the genreification and make things simple and simple and simple, are we essentially putting ourselves out of work? Are we saying that the classification of books and the importance of being able to find what you're looking for is invaluable? I don't think that that's true. I think that it's important um, for people to learn that a library is a place where you might need to go and you might need to ask someone for help, and that's fine. That's our job. That's what we're here for. So I'm really sure that all of you will have opinions about this topic because it is so prevalent for all of us. I mean, whether you're planning on working in a school library or in a public library, it's really something that's going to affect everybody. I know personally, I was recently hired as a school librarian at a private school, and my school administrator is talking to me about whether or not I think that we should move towards genreification in our library. My library is for preschoolers through sixth graders, and I had initially said, absolutely. I totally think that this is something that we should do. I'm all for it, whatever we need to do. But then I went to a local public library that used a genreified system, and I tried to find a specific title, and I couldn't find it. I had to end up still asking the librarian to help me, because while I knew the title, I didn't find it in the genre that it was supposed to be in. So it's kind of such a draw. So my question to all of you is, what would you do? And if you were going to genreify your library, would you make up your own classification system, or would you use one that was already in place? And does it really benefit kids what if they transfer to a different school? So now you have a kid that's familiar with your genreified library, and now they're being asked to utilize a formal system like Dewey. Or maybe you have to go to a public library to do some research, and Dewey's right there. So what do? Do we or don't we?